Running Sentences presents The Train Headed Nowhere. Part 6. The Trail of Answers. Drex finds Lucy, but she seems to only provide more questions than answers, which only leads to more confusion and running around by him to figure out what's going on. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are from the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. Drex saw panic in the eyes of Lucy as she struggled against her bonds and gag in the closet of the Market of Imperium Wonders office. This was turning into a surprising and terrible last few days for him, and probably worse for her. Not that he wasn't thankful to have this spilled onto his lap, but it would come at some cost, and he didn't know if he could afford that cost. How did she get here? And how did you get her here? Oh, she walked right into my hands, talking about saving the train, as if that weren't a suspicious thing to do. So you and your friends put her in here after that? Just waiting for someone to come by? Waiting for something to be explained to you? Maple grabbed a hold of his shoulder and gave it a nice squeeze. You know, I actually hadn't thought that far. I figured that by doing this I was saving the day and that would be enough. And now you're just going to hand her over to me with all the trust in the world that I'm doing the right thing? Well, that's also a good point. Why am I trusting you? Who are you to this lady? He felt a hard sigh coming on that he wasn't sure he could hold in. To be honest, he wasn't anyone to Lucy, and saying that probably wasn't believable, since he'd said he was searching for her. I'm trying to capture her since she ran away from me, and to stop things from happening to this train. Where is your proof, sir? Drex reached to untie the gag from Lucy's mouth. Best I can do is to get her to tell you some stuff, and that I don't know this Lucy all that well. She is a waitress in the workers' part of the train. Why would she tell the truth about this? Maple asked. I don't know, but maybe she will. He was able to get the gag out of it, which allowed Lucy to work her tired jaw a little bit. Her glare then turned on to the two of them. How dare you impose your will against me, Maple Crumb? You think you're actually helping by capturing me? I can't believe a lady like yourself would stoop so low after all the talks you gave. Shut up. No one cares, least of all this one who isn't going to help you out, Maple said. And you, Drex, you should know better, Lucy said with a glare to Drex. Really? I don't know anything, and you ran off with the word revolutionaries on your lip and didn't return, that and the promise that you were going to go find them. I was going to find them. Yet, I've now heard that you're involved in trying to stop this train. Why, Lucy? She didn't seem to like this and snarled a little bit. It doesn't matter why. Well, it does to the people who work and live on this damn thing. We merely want to live and breathe. There was a snort from her as she turned her head away from them. Well, I can clearly see that you two aren't working together, which is great. So, she's now your problem. Are you leaving me with her, or, this is just it for you with her? No, well, yes and no. I have other things to tend to, but for now, and in this moment, I can stay for a few seconds more if something interesting comes along. There was a heavy knock on the door, to which both spun about to look at it. And without looking, Maple had shut the closet door. Help! I am being kidnapped! The knocking did not stop, and did not seem bothered by the sudden shout from inside. Who is it? Who do you think it is, Drex? I don't know, my brain tells me not to listen to what I know and don't know anymore, Drex said with an awful sigh. Regardless of what anyone wanted, the door opened, and in its frame stood Domino. He recognized her voice, but with the way everything had gone lately, it just felt better to question all things, even when he really didn't want answers anymore. That, and he'd begun to question if he even trusted Domino, who wore a rather tired expression on her face as she looked them over. "What are you doing in here?" Domino demanded. "Not much at the moment." "And the moment before that?" He signaled towards Maple, who stood with her hands on her hips, looking rather bored. Trying to get her to talk about what she knows. "Are you one of the higher-ups, are you?" Maple asked. "Yes, I am, and you're Maple Crumb, resourceful privateer and businesswoman," Domino countered. "I am. Thank you for being one of the few people here who recognize me, and I am only here because he said he was searching for someone. Are you doing the same thing, miss?" "This man is working for me, yes, and I am here doing the same thing. By the way, I did hear a third voice coming from in this office, which I suspect is coming from the closet behind you, since you're guarding that." Both Drex and Maple reflexively glanced back to that space. "Let me out!" "I found Lucy bound up in the closet," Drex said. "She was put there, you mean?" He nodded. "Yes, by me and my group. Is that going to be a problem for you?" Maple said, sticking her chin out a little bit defiantly. "Well, that depends on what Lucy has to say." The closet door, which hadn't fully shut, now came open thanks to a small kick from Lucy. She didn't tumble out, but she did inch her way a little bit forward on her butt, so she wasn't in it anymore. "This is no way to treat a person." "You chose to run away, Lucy," Domino retorted. "And you asked for space and ran into trouble. All these problems are because of you," Drex added. Lucy looked hurt at these sudden accusations and the fact that Drex was joining in on it. "My job was to secretly get into the organization of rebellious people, and I accomplished that, and now you're ruining everything for me." "Really, that sounds fabulous. Since I know nothing about any such operation, could you please provide some form of proof?" "If I wasn't tied up like this, then maybe I could," Lucy said. "You'll have to do better than that," Domino responded. Lucy rolled her eyes at Domino. "Fine, yes, I have information if you're willing to let me go." "And would we be going somewhere to prove all of this?" Drex asked. "It's 2 offices down. There's evidence there." Drex peeled off and headed towards the door to investigate the outside. According to his memory, he hadn't seen many people in the hallway aside from Maple, but that was moments ago, and now it probably obviously had changed. "What are you doing, Drex?" "Checking for people outside. We won't have to untie her as much if the hallway is empty," he told Domino. He steps out and looks both ways, taking in what it had to offer. A plush and nice-looking space hallway empty of anyone else. Drex took another few steps to make sure this was in fact the case, and no one was hiding around there, and thankfully there wasn't anyone he could see. He tucked his head back into the office. "All clear, but you better hurry." Pulling back, he waited a few moments until the door opened again, and out the trio went. "This way." "You better not be leading us into a trap, Lucy." "That would only get me harmed. I'm not stupid, Miss Domino." The group made their way at a slow but steady pace, thanks to the fact that Lucy was still mostly tied up. Her arms were behind her back and her legs were closely knotted to keep her from moving too much. "It is this room." A plain office room greeted them. Nothing to the inside of the space other than the walls and the ceiling, and the floor under their feet. The group paused for a moment just inside as lights came on full power. This place? Yes, Drex. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't used. That's an invisible office, then? Don't be daft. It is merely a trick of the light. Then you need to show us this evidence, not magic tricks, Domino said. If you untied me, I could have gotten to it already. No one trusts you, and you've been spinning various lies about everything. You think we're going to let you roam free with what you've done? You don't have a choice. You don't know what I've done, so just free me or we will forever be stuck in the idea that something else is going on. Lucy countered to Domino's argument. I could just throw you off the train, Lucy. Try it, and you'll be out of any evidence whatsoever. Domino grabbed her, yanking her towards the door, which Lucy reflexively fought against. A mild panic shooting through the waitress's face. I can find all the information I need one way or another, lady. Your choice, girlie. You'll only find bits and pieces of it, and not before those rebels strike against the train. Where is the evidence? Bring us to it, and we can get to it, Drex said as he tried to intervene in the little argument. It's booby-trapped, so only I know how to get it out. Of course it is. Show us where the stuff is, at least, Drex said to keep things moving. Fine, follow me. Lucy began to hobble a bit away, and the group waits a moment before they begin to follow. Can you at least offer a hint? And make trusting you easier if you did. If I did, you will no longer need me, Drex. And if you don't, Miss Lucy, then we will forever be stuck in a loop of non-answers and vagueness. Please, Drex snapped. She'd gone to the center of the room and then carefully avoiding certain areas. They followed with Drex casting glances backward towards the door out of the office, which was closed, but still felt better to look back. Every time he did, he caught sight of a different room entirely, though. Now that he was beside Lucy and looking to the door, a full office now appeared in front of him. Don't bother asking why it is the way it is, Drex. Some passengers wanted it this way, and so a secret office appears. My question, though, is how do you know about it, Lucy? Always with the questions I see, Domina. Well, to answer some of them, the files in the desk reveal who is behind all of this rebellion on the train. And what about this place? There was a scowl from Lucy, who'd turned around to try and get the top drawer opened with her hands, but her hands were not getting a hold of it since they were behind her back. Drex stepped forward to try and grab it. No, stop it! What? He asked Lucy. It's booby-trapped, I told you that, and it might destroy the stuff inside if you open it wrong. That's why I need to be free to avoid this problem. He stepped back, holding his hands up to show he hadn't done anything, and then Maple stepped forward, grabbing a piece of rope that was tied to Lucy. You do anything that I think is bad, and I will kill you, Maple said with a wicked grin. Don't threaten me, you don't have any weapons, Lucy replied. I'll do what I want, and neither of these two will do anything to stop me. Isn't that right, Domino? Well, I certainly am not going to act. I will not speak for Drex, but I will caution him not to do anything should you feel the need. I would feel much more comfortable if everyone just revealed their true selves instead of all of these threats. Then maybe we could get some trust and actually get things done. Plenty of headshakes now from each of the women made Drex sigh a hard, exasperated sigh that went on and on. Fine, just open the desk. Let's get through this. Lucy made a face at him, but set back to work, with her hands now freer than they were before. jiggling things here and there until the top drawer popped open. There were a few files in there, but unable to grab them herself, she pointed to the one that said Project Royal. Drex pulled it out for her and had it snatched from his hands. "This is for my eyes," Domina said. "Of course, sharing information goes against everything you do, even though I got you here. Don't be a child, Drex, we got each other here, and this is to make sure this information isn't trapped." He shook his head and steps back as she brushes her hand over the tan folders. Fingers dance for a moment and a whiff of smoke emerges from it. "The assholes have tried to trap everything." "Yet, Lucy, you didn't tell us about this trap." "That one I didn't know about. I merely know that they put the files in there." She looked away a bit with a grimace and an annoyed look. "So what does it say then, Domina?" "It is a file on one criminal mastermind aboard the train. I don't think anyone will like when I say their name, though." "Then I will spit it out, since it is Carl." "Yes, it appears according to this file that he may be a ringleader, and you were working with him," Domina said to Lucy's declaration. "I was undercover, Miss Domina, trying to make sure I had the right person. I'm not privy to everything, and I cannot reveal everything." Drex had taken a step back, to take in the whole sight before him. The three ladies were crowding around the file and its information, each of them wordlessly mouthing the words of something that they were reading on it. To him, there was still a problem, and a big one. None of what occurred around him had yet to make any sense. "I hate to break into your reading of the file, but we still have a problem." "Oh yeah, and what would that be, mister?" "None of this makes any sense. Not you being here, Miss Maple, and why you stopped Lucy. Why Lucy was chosen to be an apparent undercover officer, or why Domina is okay with all of this." "Well, I'm not okay with it, Drex. All of my work up to this point can attest to that. You're also failing to question another aspect." "Am I?" "Why were you chosen amongst all of this?" What? Me? I thought it was because I was stupid enough to ask questions, and, wait, didn't you choose me? That's how I got involved. I asked stupid questions, plus the fact that I listened to people all day. The bosses came to me with a proposal to find out what was causing trouble. And I mean, yeah, the bosses, Lucy said, nervous glance about the place. "Then why was I given pretty much the same job before you even went missing?" The group stood for a moment, considering this with slow nods, and the three ladies still staring down at the file, in Domina's hands. "Well, I was given your folder and told to find you," Domina explained about Lucy. "And what about you, Maple? Where do you belong in all of this?" Drex asked. She looks up sharply, annoyed, trying to find eyes to see if he was insinuating something. Drex met her eyes evenly, and since he had nothing to hide. "My business, little company I have, had some information passed our way. A couple of names popped up, including yours and a Miss Lucy's." Despite himself, Drex cocked his head to the side. "What information did you get?" Drex asked, trying to clear the air and get answers. "It was something to do with a hostile takeover of a variety of corporations." Now it was Domina's turn to look puzzled. "What does that have to do with the train and these two? They're lowly workers." "Well, Domina, not much. But it makes loose references to certain groups, one of which is the Union of Workers, which Drex belongs to. The other is the GKL. The combination of the letters didn't ring any bells in Drex's mind, and he dreads asking for any more information, since who knew where that might lead? Probably bad places, and then scorned by the three ladies in front of him, his mind told him. I'm guessing That's an important thing, those letters? You've never heard of them? Maple asked. Drex offered a shrug as Domina added, "You don't get out much, do you?" "Well, no, and no. I'm usually stuck driving a train somewhere and usually aware of where it's headed and going. I've had no time for the outside world lately." The GKL, or GTX, depending on which letter variations you might use, is the spy agency for the collective government and mostly operates quietly. Anytime you hear their names, it generally means bad things, or that something has gone wrong. "And, Lucy, your name was tied to it?" Drex said, searching for answers. "Yes, it was, wasn't it, Lucy?" Attention shifted towards Lucy from Maple's response, who looks lost in thought, and with the subtle shake of her head trying to say no. "I know nothing," Lucy said while swallowing in nervousness. "Maple, do you remember exactly what the file your company got, said about her and about Drex?" Domina asked. "No, the most it said was to keep tabs on them, I believe." Drex felt his eyes narrow in confusion once again and come over him. "Why would you have such a file for your work? What is your work?" "My work is the organization of products and goods between countries. We're called the Trade and Pay, and it is my little baby of a project." "You trade goods for files?" There was a pause as Maple looked Drex directly in the eyes, with a bit of a mischievous grin on her face. "Maybe, and maybe I did. What's it to you? Do you want to make a trade for goods and information?" "I think we will actually have to do that. Make the trade, I mean," Domina said. What are you even going to offer in trade, Domina?" Drex said with a worried look. Let's start with Maple's continued freedom for files from her office." That actually sounds like a fair trade to me. Do you have any files that would shed light on this, Maple? And to me, it doesn't sound like really all that much of a trade, but it sounds like a good one for you," Drex said. "About the GTX, the agency? Yes. About the union? No. About Lucy? Well, maybe," Maple offered. "That trade is the best I can offer, by the way. I want something more aside from that, Domina. So, if you want that information, well, I suppose." Domina said this with a sigh and a roll of her eyes. "Tell me what it is that you want, and I'll see what I can do." "I need access to the workers' area," Lucy demanded. Drex had enough of this conversation, found himself moving towards the door. The need to get away from all three of these women growing stronger with every passing moment. They were just giving him a headache, and his mind was lost in all of this. So stepping out into the hallway while his companions mostly ignored him so he could think for a moment sounded absolutely great. Getting a few feet out of this office, Drex found himself coming to a halt. The big boss, Corey, was coming down the hallway with a rather distant look on his face. Drex could only wonder what the man was doing here and if he'd been noticed. The boss, though, strolled right on past him without saying a word. It was a curious thing, since he was sure their eyes had met before they'd gone by. Drex stood there for a moment, thought about it, and then turned to follow because, well, he wasn't sure why, but it felt right. In a hurry, he managed to get to the little section between the train cars as they bumped along the tracks, a space that was covered but a little noisy. And it might be a nice space to have a conversation if you didn't want to be heard. To his surprise, this is where he found Corey leaning against the wall, looking right at him. Boss? Your little escapades are drawing attention. I thought that's what I was supposed to do, make sure everyone is aware of me and you get what you want, and, they all fall in line. It's working too well, and now I have complaints about you. Well, you can't fault me for that. Well, I do, but that isn't why you're here at the moment, unfortunately. I would love to yell more at you. Well, we're tracking down Carl, who seems to be part of the revolutionaries who want to take over the train. And by that I mean Domina's actually doing most of the work. The boss's expression darkens at this news as he looks away towards the door of the next train car. It is open to reveal a man who looks strangely familiar to Drex, like he'd seen him, but he wasn't sure he'd actually ever met him. You think this will end all of that? This man who'd come into this space said. I have no idea. Who are you? I'm merely running around following other people. Is this person involved, boss? Yes, this is Agent Snark of the GTX, or the GTL, or whatever letters he's going by, or whatever letters the agency is going by lately. He's working on the same thing you are. Eyeing the man, Drex wonders if that's really the case in this situation. It didn't feel like it with the way this man was dressed. Too clean, too neat, everything just perfect. Though he wasn't willing to say that for sure. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Drex. You've got quite a file on our records. I do? Why? All the way back to your days during the last war, the agent said with a smile. Well, wait, what? I was a kid then, and I had nothing to do with the war or anything that's going on currently. You look vaguely familiar, though. Yes, I have one of those faces that blends in yet stands out as recognizable. What can I say? Now, I need you to tell me what you know. You're better off asking someone else, as I don't understand any of it. In the snap of a second, Snark's hand had grabbed a hold of Drex's shirt and pulled him in close. Start with what you know. Fine, let me go. The grip loosened but didn't completely let go, and Drex decided he wasn't going to get very further, so he gave a quick summary of Carl and Lucy while leaving out lots of details, just to give the man what he wanted. And then, after that, the grip on his shirt fully released. Has there been any mention of my organization? The agent asked. Regarding the man for a second, he wondered if the truth was a wise option here. It felt wrong, and anyway, it only had been in passing. He could give a clue and see what would take them. If it was there, it was merely mentioned. I don't know anything. Nothing that stood out to me. Drex tried to offer. I don't believe you. My organization always leaves messes and messages all over the place. It would be more believable if you came up with a lie of a report that you actually had hands on and would point to my agency. This is getting out of hand. Everything gets out of hand when you send idiots to do jobs, Corey. Now you've gotten us into a mess. Don't blame me. This is what your organization wanted. The fact that everyone was once again talking over his head as if he isn't there bothers Drex. He was there, and listening though. About what, he wasn't entirely sure. It could be rebels, or right now it sounded like the whole thing might be a setup by the government, but it didn't make any sense. Well, if you don't need me, I think I might go. Stay where you are, I'm not done with you. The agent's hand had reached out and grabbed a hold of his arm and began holding tightly. For what purpose? Drex complained. You have information you're hiding. Drex looks over the man, trying to decipher and figure out how he'd come to that conclusion. No matter how he looks at him, though, Drex struggles to get a read on what the man was thinking, as well as just what was going on. I swear to you I don't know anything more. Can I go away with this one if he's just going to repeatedly lie to me? Well, you're the government, Mr. Snark. You do whatever it is and you do it without my say in the first place. For the briefest of moments, Drex wonders if there could possibly be anyone who could save him. His mind went to Domina, then discarded that thought, along with Lucy and Maple. I do not want to be done away with, and Drex tried to protest. Shut up, you don't have a choice in the matter, even if you do talk, the agent snapped. Then why am I still here? This makes no sense. I know nothing, according to you, and according to you, I'll be thrown off the train for it. Not right away. Torture then? Great. You'll get the same information that I have now, and which I don't know why the fuck I'm doing this job. The agent turns to Corey, who stood there, straightening out their rumpled outfit from the wind that did get through into this area, but keeping an eye out for anyone else at the same time. Why is he doing this job? The agent said to Corey. Questions, why else? You got someone to do a job because they asked questions, Corey? Why wouldn't we? Your organization routinely does the same thing, plus it gives us a chance to remove the subject from spreading those questions to others in their workstations. I'd just like to point out I still spent time with other workers before I was told I had to do this job, and I was questioning a lot of things. Though they were now not listening to him as the scowling contest broke out between the two. I was left wondering how he might manage to get out of this grip of the agent. It's a steel-tight one now, and he isn't sure he knows how to get those type of fingers off of him. We have more pressing matters to deal with, the boss said. Are you two finally getting around to talking about the fact that you have rebels aboard the train? Yes, we already know about that, and we're already dealing with it, the agent said. Yes, dealing with it, and we'll be dealing with it, his boss, Corey, added. Well, not well enough if you're busy with me instead of stopping them. Snark swung his free hand, slapping Drex hard across his face for his insolence. You had the chance to tell us and you refused. Now you think we should listen to you and listen to you tell us what to do? Agent Snark snarled at him. No, Snark, I'm not telling you what to do. Pointing out that doing it would be the smartest thing at the moment with the risks of thousands of lives. The grip on his arm finally relaxes a bit more, and then lets go altogether. Though the eyes of Snark never left Drex, staring and studying every part of him. We have to do something about Carl. He's a bigger situation right now, Boss Corey said. Where is he? Somewhere in the passenger section of the train, from what I know. That's where he was last seen going by some of the workers, Drex said. So you did know more then, Snark said with a glare. Not that much more, and you didn't ask me about him. I wanted to know all that was going on, not just some small facts. You really are a useless fool. No wonder there are rumors going on about you. Confusion spread across Drex's face, since he never heard anything about anyone talking about him. This seems like it was meant to rattle and shake him for more information. Unfortunately, his mind is more curious, and the words were out of his mouth before he could think much on them. There was no chance to shut up this time. What rumors? Snark. This and that about how useful you actually are, and how you don't actually work. Mostly that you went around demanding answers from everyone. It's gotten you noticed by a lot of people, his boss, Corey, responded. That's what you wanted me to do, Corey. Make a scene to get answers. You can't complain about that after the fact. They'd gone back to not listening to him at that moment, as they began to head towards the exit which the agent had come through. With all of his strength and might and vocal cords, he wanted to stop them from leaving so that maybe somebody could save him. Another part of him, though, wanted the two forever gone from his life, and if they left without him, that would be fine with him. But he didn't think that would be an option. And shockingly, they commanded him, "Stay where we can find you in case we have other questions, Mr. Drex," Snark ordered. "I'm aboard a train. It will not be that hard to find or locate me." "You say that, but you can't find Carl now, can you?" There was no use responding to that question now, as the two leave the little space between the two train cars. Now alone in the quiet, Drex's eyes leans against the door to the car he'd come to. This week only seemed to grow weirder on him, with more questions to boot. There was also the question pinging around in his mind of what to do now, and who could he trust. No one is the easy and simple answer, but he didn't like that since it meant bad things. "Weird-ass fuckers," Drex said about his boss and the agent. "Who were?" "The agent and our boss." He said this without thinking, and then turned to Domina, who was smirking at him, the feeling of probably shouldn't have said that washing over him. End of part 6 of The Train Headed Nowhere. Thank you for listening.